Dating Revolution. Welcome to day 10 of the Expose Your Truth Challenge. I'm getting up close and personal here, sharing some stuff from my life for hopefully for the benefit of all of our inspiration, exploring, discovering, learning, growing, and creating. Welcome. And if you're watching, say hello. If you're on a replay, drop a comment, thumbs up. Please read the description if you want some details about what I'm up to or some the opportunity to get a free class of the Relating Revolution. That is a very atypical approach to building love, trust, connection, joy in your life with your marriage partners or committed partners. It is nothing like psychotherapy, and it is extremely practical, it's basically hacking your brain, your chemistry, your relationship to optimize it to the highest possible expression. And it's, the heart behind it really is like, it's about the kids, it's about family, it's about love, it's about connection for me. And these are the most important values in my life. And if I can share those with you and benefit you, especially during these difficult COVID times, family life is pretty stressful right now. And you know what? At the same time, I also want to acknowledge that it's often easier than being alone. And so, for those of you that are alone out there right now, my heart goes out to you. And the Relating Revolution has something for you too, because relating, we're always relating, inner or outer. We can't not be relating. So, and we can always kind of perform this inner relating revolution, which is about becoming the major dominant influence in your own life, not your past, not your trauma, not your spouse, not the government, not commercials, not Donald Trump, not COVID. That you are the major dominant influence in your life, and that you are able to know the mechanics of your nervous system, of your body and your mind and your spirit so well that you can fine tune it and upgrade it in very practical ways. There are maps, there are tools, there are instructions, and there is guidance. So, without further ado, today's topic is about have you ever been told that you're not enough, or you ever had the sense that you're not enough? Right? Or have you ever had the sense that you're too much, or been told that you're too intense, or something like that? Well, I have. And guess why? Guess why I have? Human. Well, maybe not everyone's told that they're too much, but I think every single one of us, I think the biggest pandemic, and I'll actually echo the words of a mentor of mine in saying, I think the biggest pandemic we have out there is the poison of you are not enough, that you are lacking. And this is something that is fed to us from every single angle possible in order that in order that we be good consumers, in order that we are in a state of mind and a state of being that makes us think that something outside of us is finally going to make us healthy and happy. And especially if it's something that costs money. But even if it's in our romantic partnerships, we are also deeply programmed with this thing of like that the other is going to fulfill me, that the right job, the right car, the right amount of money, the right circumstances are going to fulfill me. When really true fulfillment comes from a connection to your own essence that radiates out and dances and interacts with others as an expression of your overflowing joy, openness, love, kindness, and awareness. But when we are deficient in thinking that something other than us is going to fill us up or or make us whole or fix us, even if it's therapy, supplements, the right diet, all these things that we can do. And trust me, I'm into this stuff. You can look at my supplement shelf, you can look at my bookshelf. I'm into this stuff. But none of it will work until we have that inner relating, until we are relating to ourselves from a place first of compassion, love, and wisdom and understanding. But then we are purposefully and deliberately involved in a process of consciously upgrading from the default mode of our brains. Every single brain is born with a default mode. It's like you get a new pet computer and it comes out of the package and it's got the software, it's got the hardware and the software that it's got. That's what it's got. Well, you can remove the software and you can put in new software and make that computer work better. Well, the same with the human brain. The human brain comes with a certain built-in program through millions of years of evolution. And that built-in program is designed for survival as a priority only. It doesn't care about happiness. It doesn't care about love. It doesn't care about connection. It doesn't care about joy. It doesn't care about spirituality. It doesn't care about fulfillment. It doesn't care about these things. It's just survival, 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 survival. And therefore, it has what is called the built in negativity bias. It will err to the side of seeing what could possibly be wrong, such that we could prepare for the worst, right? But it doesn't really work actually in modern living. It's not really appropriate when those structures are translated into a modern lifestyle where we want to have our cake and eat it too, where we are not really facing the elements of survival every day, when there is no tiger at our throat, when we have homes and we have fireplaces and we have full refrigerators. And for those of us that have those things, I'm talking, it's a tremendous privilege and honor, and I am so grateful, right, for the abundance in our life, and recognize that for those that do not have those basic needs, this is a different discussion, okay? But for those of us that are safe on a day-to-day basis, that have food, that have shelter, that have warmth, for those of us that are lucky enough to have people around us to relate to, and then even though we want to be socializing more, we still have the ability to relate with others, can connect with others, to empathize with others, and to be seen, felt, and heard, and all that good stuff. Well, then the survival part of the brain is not really the most effective way to go about life, but yet most of us are activating the survival part of the brain every time we say we're stressed out, every single time we say we're exhausted, every single time we say we're, afraid or angry or depressed, to fight, flight, or freeze. That's all the survival part of the brain. So what most people I find are confused about is we get stuck on the reasons why we think we're angry, afraid, or depressed, instead of recognizing that it's a software issue. Our hardware works just fine, the computer works fine, the machine works fine. It's just running the wrong software program for the environment that we live in. And if we can upgrade the software to what I call the thriving mode, then then there is a built-in part of our brain that needs to be activated. It needs to be purposely and deliberately cultivated. That's part of the human experience, is that we need to be consciously awakening. And when we awaken and unfold our higher levels of being, they are naturally, by their nature, without having to try, there is an expression of joy, openness, love, kindness, and awareness, connection to others, empathy, wisdom, compassion, skillful means, etc. Right? So that not enough cultural trance of like, you're not enough, I'm not enough, that we all have that, because that's the built-in survival mechanism. That's the built-in, you're separate, you're not connected, you need something outside of yourself in order to feel better. You need Novocaine, you need Netflix, you need medicine, you need psychotherapy, you need coaching, whatever it is, right? Look, I'm not throwing myself under the bus a little bit there. I've been a psychotherapist and a coach. I am a coach, right? But what I coach people, and how I even worked in psychotherapy, and the reason why I stopped doing psychotherapy, is because the cultural trance in that was too much. It was too much of like a problem saturated narrative where it's like, I'm coming to be fixed. No, you have to learn the tools. You have to learn the tools. You have to learn the means. There are maps, tools, and instructions for you to upgrade your nervous system so that your inner wisdom, your inner beauty, your inner love, your inner compassion, your inner joy, all that is already there. It's waiting to be discovered. But there is a method that you can use to discover it, right? And so we don't need to go it alone. We don't need to be walking through the forest blindly, and we certainly don't want to be led the blind leading the blind. So we've all been told we're not enough. We've all felt we're not enough. And that's okay, right? The other side of it is that I've been told many times in my life that, you're too much, dude, you're too intense. And there was an interesting evolution there, because it's like I remember in grad school, and some of my graduate students, I'd be really passionate, I'd be really excited. And some of my peers in my cohort were like, dude, you're intimidating. And I used to feel really bad about that. I used to feel like, oh, what's wrong with me? Why am I, you know, why are people intimidated? Why do people think that I'm like aggressive? Like I'm, I'm feeling complete, especially I'm feeling completely loving. I'm feeling totally loving. And it took me at the first stage of that journey for me uh, was to just like, just say I can't be responsible for what they think. All I can do is be the best human being that I can do. If I'm in a completely open, loving state and I'm really joyful and passionate about something, and someone else just feels that that energy is too much for them or too intense for them, then that's not my responsibility. And I can't try to fix that or solve that. I can't take care of their reactivity, right? And that's true. That part's true. But then there was another level of evolution beyond that that said, wow, as a person that's really in charge, as a person that really has practiced and gained some skill in the aspect of like self-management and being the dominant influence in my own life, well then by nature that makes me a leader, right? And so because not most people aren't really in charge of themselves. Most people are knee-jerk reacting to life all the time, and they're not really cultivating higher capacities of their brain, or they're not, and many people are, but most people aren't. Look around. And 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 so and so even that I almost feel like I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be saying this because people are going to think I'm bragging or something like that. But like that's that thing of like, don't be too much, right? And there's this it's something called the tall poppy syndrome, where people want to cut you down to their size. And the cultural trance, the lowest common denominator, wants to cut you down to its size so that you aren't like, you don't rise above, you don't stand out, you're not too bright. And so that I'm like, no way, F all that. Be bright, be big, be bold. But there is the possibility of also being skillful when you have enough self mastery, for lack of a better term. When you have enough self mastery, you can actually, not in a way that is dimming yourself or diminishing yourself or that you feel bad, but in a way that is skillful, you can adapt to the situation and be skillful. And especially if one of you, as we develop higher aspects of our being, it's natural that we want to be compassionate and be of service and to make the world a better place. So sometimes that means, in a skillful conversation, I've had to learn over the years of being a therapist, is like, I can't sometimes, I have to adapt to the person in front of me. That's not a selling myself out. That's not a diminishing of myself. That's actually a using myself in a more skillful way. That's deliberate. That's a deliberate intended thing in order to help bring about a better scenario for all involved, right? So I hear the people, a lot of times you're going to hear in the coaching world, like, well, who cares what people think about you, and just like, be big, be bold, let yourself shine bright. And I agree with that to an extent, but there's also a step beyond that, where you can be big, bold, and whatever you need to be, but you can also be skillful, and you can choose how you choose to show up. You don't have to be, it's not a compulsion. You don't have to be intense, or you don't have to not be intense. You can choose how you show up, right? Depending upon the situation and depending upon the benefit that might ensue if you are skillful in the situation. So, not enough, too much, really being who you are, activating the higher parts of your nervous system, developing your soul, developing the spiritual talents and capacities that are maybe beyond rational, logical sense, because that world exists too. These are the ways that then you start to learn, like, oh, I'm much more than enough. I am much more than enough. And not only am I much more than enough, but I am also able to show up in different types of ways in different types of situations and be authentic in all of them. It's not like being a chameleon. It's not being manipulative. It's authentic because the ultimate aim is to uplift others. So, love you all. Have a beautiful day. Let me know if that one made sense to you. I don't know if I was waxing a little philosophical there and going a little bit over time, but the relating revolution is on. We are on a mission to have less fighting and more loving in homes, and we are looking for people that are motivated, successful. They have all the pieces of the puzzle. They, maybe careers in place, money's in place, success is in place, status is in place, but the biggest piece of the puzzle is missing: family, love, connection, joy, trust. That part, that's the relating revolution, where we're going to come in and transform and upgrade your marriage, your love life, sexuality, vitality, emotional intelligence, but real deal emotional intelligence, not the pop psychology version. You want to check out real deal emotional intelligence. I have a video titled that on my YouTube channel. The link to my YouTube channel is in the description. So lots of tools, lots of resources. There's practical stuff that we can do. We can do much more than talk about it. This is not therapy, but it's also a type of coaching that is also has clinical experience and background as in that empathetic approach as its ground. So love you all. Have a beautiful day. Hope you're doing well. And feel free to say hello in any way, shape, or form. Ciao.